on here. Why is... Oh, because it's set up... I'm set up to stream Factorio still. Alright. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Going Alone, Malthael versus Greymane. This is from the Korean HGC. This is Blossom versus MVP Black, and it is going to be Greymane versus Malthael. Greymane will be played by No Chat, and our Malthael will, of course, be Rich. So couldn't really ask for a better player. This is the Cho'Gall game. I encourage you guys to check this game out just for the necessary, just for the fact that it is Cho'Gall. Rich actually did a post-match interview saying that Cho'Gall was really popular in the Korean meta right now, and it actually, for a lot of people, came down to who got Cho'Gall pretty much just won the match. Blossom actually did take a game off of MVP Black in this series, and it's it was the game where they got Cho'Gall and MVP Black did not. It's a little bit of skirmishing at the beginning, hook attempts, clearing the wave, general nonsense, and oh, I'm sorry, Reset. Reset's going to be playing Malthael. What was I thinking of? There's a different replay that I was thinking of where Rich actually was the one playing Malthael, but I lied. It's actually just... Okay. So we're going to have No Chat versus Reset, Malthael versus Greymane. Reset got an early clear there because he got the better rotation. This is, by the way, why... I know this is underestimated a lot of the time. People don't understand. Why did everyone go mid? Yeah, Rich is playing Cho. So he's essentially playing the Bruiser in this composition. So because MVP Black cleared the mid wave faster, they could start the rotation faster. The timing, a lot of people are like, why does everyone go mid? Well, because if everyone goes mid at the start on your team and the other team doesn't, because the minions meet mid first, if you see that no one's there defending, you can just push in, get some damage on this tower, and then rotate to your lanes and not miss any soak. The timing you want to hit is, unless you got a kill and you can go for more kills because people are low and overextended, you leave when the minion wave is cleared. That's it. So as soon as the minion wave got cleared, we saw Reset leave. And because he got that initial clear, he didn't really have to engage in any sort of fight against No Chat. Bearing in mind, Malthael, his only ranged ability really is his E. Right? As long as you don't get hit by the E, if you're a ranged hero, you're not going to get poked out by Malthael. Pretty much any ranged hero can beat Malthael in lane, or at least tie him in lane, just by playing safe and using the fact that he has range. So we see No Chat is just poking the wave. Reset uses E on the wave, but notice he uses E on the wave when Greymane's there. So he's trying his best to hit No Chat with the E if No Chat overextends and makes a mistake. With the E on cooldown, No Chat knows he can't really get hit by anything because he has the mobility from his Q. And so when Reset steps up to try and auto-attack him to get some damage on him, he just backs up. And this is going to be Reset's life. This is Reset's life, unfortunately. Needs to have E on the wave to get the sustain, so he's poking that out. Now that the wave is here, he can just mount up, pick up the gems. This is a unique aspect of Tomb of the Spider Queen in particular. The objective is the back three minions, right? The back three minions right here. No Chat stepped up aggressively into Worgen form, not because he needed to, but because the mobility gave him an escape option, and he used that mobility to make sure he could pick up the gems. One of the aspects of the Tomb of the Spider Queen matchup that is unique to Tomb of the Spider Queen is that you have to be able to get to the backline minions and pick them up. Just clearing the wave is not enough. If you don't pick up the gems, you're missing a third of the potential gem income for your team, and that has an effect over the course of the game in terms of getting multiple turn-ins. So both players are trying to do their best to pressure as the backline is the one that's going to come down. See, so notice Reset there. He used his teleport to a marked target to get a minion. He hit a minion. Don't think he hit No Chat, and then he auto-attacked No Chat. So now he can teleport to No Chat. No Chat, under that pressure, has to back away. But notice that when Reset did it as the backline is dying. So he's putting him in a situation, and now he's going to go for the pick. We see the rotation from Medivh here. Reset's forced to back up, and No Chat can pick up the gems. All of that was for those 3 gems. they didn't expect to kill reset. They didn't expect to get the damage on him. No Chat took too much damage because he got hit by the mark because he's standing next to the minion, and then Malthael came in with the teleport onto the minion and got the hit, and at that point, No Chat's in a lot of trouble because Malthael can chase for a long period of time if he's getting the mark on you, which is one of the reasons you really, really have to avoid. So No Chat's going to back up and tap. Mora's maintaining the pressure here, and again, dodging the E. This is if you're a ranged hero, this is literally all you need to do to beat Malthael in lane is dodge Z. And if you can dodge the E as a melee hero and trade efficiently otherwise, then it's going to be really hard for Malthael to get a significant amount of damage. The problem is it doesn't really work as a melee hero, right? Because you have to step up an auto attack usually. Normally melee heroes don't have that option of standing too far back, but Malthael can always just hit you, get his mark on you, and trade free damage. He's going to continue. Again, resets, waiting. The front line does have more minions. Notice, this is a small mechanical point. Notice how he's spreading out his auto attacks. He hit this minion, and then he hit the top minion, and then he hit the mid minion. The side minions are usually the minions that will be attacked first by the wave, just because of the way the way the waves meet. It's not always true. It's not always true. So if you're going to try and optimize damage over time, you want to hit the minion first that's going to take the least damage and then come back around to an rotation. So you actually should have hit the mid minion first and then the top minion and then the bottom minion. That would have been slightly more efficient because the bottom dot got basically 0 value because it died to the natural minion versus minion combat pretty quickly. But he's trying to keep it up. He's trying to keep his markup with just his auto attack on as many people as possible. He uses the E to zone, doesn't hit. But again, he's using the minion wave, and this is a really critical part for Malthael. Malthael only wants to fight if there's a minion wave there. Because Malthael's gap closer against ranged heroes is his W, right? His teleport. But he can only teleport to a target that's already marked. So unless the opponent you're up against is bad and gets hit by your E, you're never going to teleport to them. You're always going to be teleporting to a minion, and then use that to get on top of them. So you wait till your counterpart steps up, you E the minion wave, and then it's kind of like Kerrigan's double jump in a way. You're jumping to a minion and then trying on top of your target. And his cooldown the cooldown racetrack is 5 seconds. The duration of Reaper's Mark is 4 seconds. So if you jump and then immediately auto attack, and maybe even get a second auto attack off, your racetrack's going to be up a time again to do it again. And here we're going to see, if he feels confident that he has a sustain here, he will jump again to No Chat. Does not feel confident that he has a sustain. Also, and again, he tries to do it there, but No Chat's already backed off. And No Chat goes into Organ form. He does that. No Chat actually messed up there. He did that to pick up the gems. He thought he would be able to get both of them, and then didn't get. He only got 1 out of the 3. He doesn't go back into them. He doesn't get greedy for them, but that is a little tiny bit of a mistake. Also, obviously, because Malthael sustains more, the more targets are available, the more he wants to fight a minion wave anyway, because he wants to be able to get a lot of value out of his Q when he's trading damage like this. The more effectively you can trade damage in the solo lane, the better off you're going to be. And it's kind of a simple matchup, right? It has one major trick. You're trying to keep the minion wave marked. You're trying to bait your ranged opponent. This will apply to any ranged opponent near the wave. And then you're trying to jump to a minion so that you can auto attack your opponent. And then once your mark's on them, you should be able to jump to them again at least one more time to get some more damage on them. It's especially easy if you take the increased range at 1, or you can go for the Reaper and have this movement speed. The movement speed gives you more options in terms of escaping, which means you can play slightly more aggressive. I'm not going to say a lot more aggressively, but slightly more aggressively. It also does deny ganks to some degree because it gives you collision avoidance, right? You can deny body blocks just by clicking a button. And notice, I mean, Cho'Gall's just winning. Cho'Gall Ariel is just destroying this top lane. Like, there's no question in the world that this is just happening up here, which is why they get the first turn in. Resets really just tie the lane. Why doesn't No Chat control the lane so it's closer to his tower? Wouldn't that make Mouth's job harder? Yes, it would. Generally speaking, if you're ever up against a hero who does not have any kind of mobility or escape, you want to freeze the lane on your side of the map. This is especially true on Tomb of the Spider Queen because it makes it significantly safer for you to pick up the gems. No Chat's not that good a solo laner, but Reset is really good at Malthael. So usually when I'm going alone, I try really hard to find matchups where both players played really well. But Malthael is such a new hero that's hard to do, unfortunately. So instead, we opted for a matchup where Reset played really well, and he demonstrated the key move. And this will apply against any ranged hero. The key move for Malthael is keep the minion wave marked with E. When you know your opponent wants to step up, W to a minion and then auto attack. W to the minion close to your opponent, and then you can hit them. You want to try and hit the wave plus them with your E. If you can, you always want to line it up such that if they don't move, they're going to get by their E because it forces them to react to you. In position maybe a little bit differently. But the reality is that they should never get hit by your E if they're a ranged hero. They should just miss, or they should just dodge like every single time. If you are successfully hitting someone with your E, then this matchup should be pretty easy regardless because they're bad. Again, going into Worgen form, picking up the gems. This does highlight the way Greymane normally plays most of his lanes. The way Greymane plays most of his lanes is he pokes and then he will go in Worgen to finish and then roll out. That's how Greymane plays like a lot of his lanes. It's just not the way. It's just not the right way to play against Malthael. That's a really excellent question, though. Relict? How do you want your name pronounced? Rel1CT. Malthael doesn't have a lot of siege damage, and he doesn't have a lot of pick potential without the wave there to sustain. So he gets called on to rotate to the mid lane to help there with the wave clear so that the web weaver will do more damage to the tower itself. Cho'Gall Ariel already have top. No Chat's just soaking bottom at this point. This solo lane's basically over. Generally speaking, solo lanes on Tomb of the Spider Queen don't last much past the first turn-in if one person's being pretty dominant, and if one team's being pretty dominant, and they are, because you get to a point where you're going to hit 9 or 10. What is this KT doing to die so often? Oh, he's getting Cho'Gall. There's really no way to put that. Cho'Gall with the full Q build, Power Surge, and Uppercut together is just incredibly mobile. Anubarak is really mobile. So, you know how Genji's really mobile and everyone hates him? Well, Cho'Gall is a tank who's really mobile, who has a mage on his back that does more damage than Genji. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's only died 3 times. But they're basically they're targeting him. And Stitches does not have any peel. So his only, and Malf, of course, has no burst healing. So his only escape mechanic is Medivh playing really, really well. So we can just assume Smora is not making the saves that need to be made. It's kind of boring, right? Malthael solo lane matchups are not super interesting. He has one major trick, and it's a good trick. But and pretty much all his ranged matchups, as far as I've seen, are like that. If it's Malthael versus a ranged hero, you play conservatively, you hit your E, you sustain off the wave, and as soon as they step anywhere near the wave, you teleport onto the minion and then hit them, and then you can teleport to them because they're marked. And it's just those narrow little timing windows. It's not terribly interesting. You can make an argument that it involves a lot of timing and mechanics, which is hard, but hard and difficult are not the same thing. Necessarily. Hard and interesting are also not necessarily the same thing. Speaking of Boo, did you highlight yesterday's HTC show and export it to YouTube? Because someone in the Reddit thread asked if they started being exported again, and I keep forgetting. Alright, This one's a little more interesting. This is a melee versus... This is a melee matchup. Mouth is just kind of boring to me. I mean, people ask for this. His matchups aren't that interesting. He has one like major trick. That's it. It's just... It's a good trick, right? Because it teaches... In many ways, it's... Whoa. Sorry. RIP headphone users. I really wish the replay system would not do that. Like, why do you change my volume to max every time I load a replay? That is not the current. Alright. But the thing about Malthael is you are forced to play around the minion wave being there. So you're kind of just jockeying for position and staying mounted whenever the minion wave's not there. And that's actually a really important concept for solo winning in general. Apparently this replay does not have the cool interface, but the other one did. So we're going to see a little bit of a cheeky move here. This is something you can do if you think you have... how about this? This is something you can do if you have a global. This is what this is. So if you have a global, you can actually go to one of the side lanes first. Because normally the reason you go mid is because it allows you to send your solo laner top and then send your 4-man bottom without missing any sort of soak, because the minion waves there meet first. If you have a global, you can actually clear bottom first, send your global top, and then clear mid with your 4-man rotating the other way. And sometimes, if you can play better than your opponents, this will result in a fight happening in these mid bushes where you'll get a pick and they'll end up missing the bottom wave and you'll only miss half of top wave. It's not... Oh, wow. But they're actually going to go for a Dahaka Burrow strat. Trying to get a pick. Burrow to dodge the hook. Nicely done by BKB there. Jesus. Reasons you'll never be a professional player, everyone watching this, you can't do that. Until you can dodge Stitch's hooks with Burrow, you'll never be a professional Dahaka player. That's just the way it is. They didn't end up doing the strat, but they could have done it. They just didn't. They were really hoping for more pick potential there. The reason they can even attempt to do that is because of the double support. There's just usually not enough damage to be super threatening in the early game when you're up against double support, so they can play aggressively like that. There you go, though. Malthael versus Illidan. This isn't Immolation. Illidan, this is the best. Immolation is the best talent for the solo lane against everything except maybe Rexar. The removal of the 2 bushes in bot lane was so good for the map. It'd help a little bit. For those of you who don't know, there used to be a bush here and a bush here that did a lot to make this rotation a lot scarier, and it made this entire lane a lot more risky. Now they're gone. Some very similar bushes were removed on Sky Temple. I've used Lurk Restrain to stop a mosh pit once. That's actually very impressive. How about having to burn Aegis keeps them also very impressive. I've played, I don't even know how many games of support I've played in Heroes of the Storm, and I've played, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games with cleanse. I have pre-cleansed a Stitch's Hook exactly one time. One time. It felt really good. It felt really good. But pro support players should be able to do it, like, I'm going to say 85% of the time. They should be able to do it if they're trying to. It's not always worth it to pre-cleanse hooks because cleanse obviously is a longer cooldown. So you got to make that judgment call, is it worth it? But one time out of hundreds is one of the reasons that I only Reaper player. Although I have gotten Nova's clone to lock hooks a lot. That always feels really good. So in the early game, Illidan is a hero who does really well against auto attackers. Anyone whose damage comes from any sort of auto attacking, he has evasion, and then he has a lot of lifesteal. You can do it with Lunaris. I've never pulled it off with Lunaris, but I haven't played that many games of Lunara against Stitches specifically. Whereas, because I played Nova when Stitches was more in the meta, and then Lunara came out after that. And so just wasn't in the meta as much anymore. Obviously, he's in the meta now. If I picked up Lunara again, I would definitely practice blocking Wisps with that. Faye, I think it was Faye. Faye can actually do it pretty consistently. Can actually block Stitches Hook with Wisps. It's pretty impressive. Anyway, Malthael. So Illidan's matchups tend to be against do well against high auto attackers or just generally low damage heroes because he can sustain them really well. Crone can do it as well. So most of Malthael's damage is ability damage. That's a very unfavorable matchup. You can see Xayah takes a lot of damage already in the early game. And Snitch actually has to come in already to help out. Anti-hero doesn't have an escape here, but we are going to see a massive rotation. And this is the danger of having a bad souling. Anti-hero is actually going to die here because the rotation from Dig was just a little bit better. But imagine if he'd lived. Imagine if he'd lived after this massive rotation, and he hadn't died. If he hadn't died there, no stuck been missed, and this 3-man had been able to continually pressure bottom, that would have been a net trade. Whenever you have a solo lane that's disadvantaged like this, and forcing the rotation should be an advantage, but you should be careful not to die. And that's why I'm surprised. So the previous game, we didn't really need the anti-gank tool, but at least we took it in case, because the lanes were close together. In this game, we actually really need the anti-gank tool, because we know, at least we should know, that we're going to be able to win the lane, just based on the powers of the heroes. It should be pretty clear that Malth has a clear advantage, and we don't take the thing we need to not die. So if he different level 1 talent, he's alive here. This tower easily dies, so they end up trading a tower for losing control of the beacon. Which is, it's a pretty good trade. It doesn't work out that way. So I think if you're trying to win the solo lane as Malthael, you actually do need to take the 1 button. The extra clicky, like, mouth trait will not apply on evasion. You actually have to hit. But you can't react to the E cast time in melee range. So if you're hitting Malthael, he can E you, like 100% of the time. And because you have Immolation, you're going to be near a minion wave. Right, because you want the spread damage to be helping you clear the wave, in which case he can be on you and then E and then hit the minion wave behind you or to the side or whatever the angle is. He can usually, he should be able to consistently do it, but it does not. It's one of the things we tested on PTR. They still end up getting the tower, but imagine if Malth hadn't died. Imagine if this was 1-0. No teams didn't miss any soak, but you know. It's unfortunate. So it applies through Genji's Protect because he's still hitting the Genji? Yes. It's the same reason Butcher heals. Butcher will heal off a protected target because Protect, you do the damage and then Protect negates the damage. If you didn't do any damage at all, Protect would be very, very different in the way it interacts. But like Butcher Brand, you'll still heal off of someone you're hitting, even though you'll do 0 damage to them, technically. Rejuvenation, Medivh's level 16 talent. You know, it heals for half the damage done. If the game didn't keep track of the damage done and just Protect just made you do 0 damage, then it wouldn't heal for anything ever. Right? So that matters. It's one of the reasons that you'll never see the armor talent taken in the Medivh Diablo combo. Or at least not anymore. ADRD took it once back in the day, and then I was like, that probably is a mistake, and then I went and tested it, tweeted at him. No one's ever taken it since. But yeah, if damage is negated by armor, it won't count for damage done when you're protected by Medivh, and then post 16 that will actually reduce your overall healing. So that's why you never see Justing, for instance, take the armor at level 7 on Diablo when he has a Medivh. He almost always goes Battle Momentum instead, or Diabolical Momentum. A lot of little interactions in HOTS if you want to be really optimal with all your talent picks around the armor system that are not transparent. You actually have to go and test them. They won't just, the numbers just, you can't just like read a tooltip, unfortunately. I really wish HOTS worked that way or had like an in-game wiki or something where you could just have access to this information, but it doesn't exist. So again, we're in the top lane. Anti-hero doesn't necessarily have better wave clear, but he has better dueling potential. So if he's clearing the wave, Xaylia can't be anywhere near the wave. And now we get to the most boring aspect of every matchup. A lot of the soloing matchups in Dragonshire. One can clear and one can doesn't. Xaylia gets free shower shots here because of evasion. He goes in, gets that value, and then leaves. Mounts up, gets dismounted. Nice of him by Anti-hero. Should be noted that I think Anti-hero is probably one of the best soul laners in the world. Regardless of what hero he's on, he usually has a pretty good understanding of the soul laning matchup, which is why I'm really surprised to see the deaths reach here over the increased speed. Because the major disadvantage here is that Illidan, or not Illidan, Brightwing can come in on top of the Illidan, and he's not going to be able to get back to his gate in time. And this is how a lot of Dragonshire matchups will go at a very high end. And again, his matchups are not very interesting. People wanted a Malthael soul laning show, so I'm doing it, but those matchups are not very interesting. It's basically you just clear and trade, and clear and trade. Again, another situation, he's body blocked right here. Again, this is a situation where one would have saved him. He might actually get out of here regardless, and he does. That was actually insane. He W'd past the body block in order not to die, dodged the Kael'thas stun, and just walked by. It was actually so insane that he did that. I guess if you have confidence in your mechanics, then you don't need the one. Like, you don't need the ability to run faster and deny body blocking when you can pull tricks like that. But imagine how much safer he would have been with the one. I'm just saying. Because so far Death's Reach has gotten 0 value. He's not once actually needed to use the increased range on this W. So because this is what happens frequently when matchups tie like this, where one person will clear the wave and then go cap the point, and then while they're capping the point, the other person will come in and clear the wave. You see more rotations in the soul lane. If you have a dominant matchup, you'll generally see rotations only from the team that doesn't have the dominant matchup, or you won't see any rotations at all, and they're just going to slowly sacrifice that lane, hoping to get some sort of advantage in their 4-man. But the good guy's doing quite well. They drafted a dominant soul laning matchup, and they drafted a surprisingly strong siege composition. Tracer, just because of her high single target damage, it's really, really high if you don't count reload. If you count reload, it drops quite a bit. But her high single target damage actually makes her a surprisingly good siege hero. And this is not like a normal thing, but it's like it's decent siege. 11k. See, Dahak is at 15k, but that's mostly from wave clear. Malthael's at 17k, but that's mostly from wave clear. This is pretty much all building damage on the Tracer's part. She's just been sieging into buildings. I don't like this draft, having Tracer as the battery for the Ariel, but in skirmish situations, it can work. In skirmish situations, Tracer does enough damage in like 1v1s and 3v2s, 3v3s, maybe even 3v4s, that it's okay. But in all-out 5v5s, you're never going to win a team fight with Tracer as your battery. It's just not going to happen. So this is a laning setup, and Good Guys is trying to get a tempo advantage by winning in lane and getting picks. If they ever get to a full 5v5, they're going to lose. I think that's actually what happens later on in the game. We're not going to get in there because we're focusing on the soul lane. Picking the mid lane on the Haka. Anti-hero clears. Notice Anti-hero's not going for the point right away. He backs up, and then as soon as he sees Xaylia. Again, Malthael really wants to fight in the minion wave. Isn't the point of the draft to have Malth battery late game? They put the hat on him during Tormented Souls. I don't think that was the point. During the game, I don't think we saw the hat on Malth unless Tracer was dead or Tormented Souls was up. But that's very similar to the old school Zool strategy of putting the hat on Zool during Poison Nova, though. Used to be a thing on Tomb. It's not that he's the primary battery, it's that he has a really high damage ult that does a lot of like spread area damage. They might have theory crafted that. That might have been like the theory craft, but I don't think that works. Especially without a really good engage mechanic. Like, the Haka is not a great engage hero. I don't know. This draft is awkward. It feels like they're going to win in the laning phase or not win at all. And I believe that's actually what happens. The matchup is pretty much over at this point. The camp pressure is going to start to come in. We're going to eventually we should see Illidan rotate and grab his own camp and push that up. But we're at a point now where the rotations are going to be consistent enough. Yeah, the rotations have started at this point where they're going for the pressure. They want to get the wall so that they don't have a retreat path. Antihero ends up going down again. I'm pretty sure he was dead there no matter what. And again, we're already seeing the problem with Tracer as a battery. Just didn't have the throughput right there. Was Pulse Bomb up? That's right, I can't check in the Blizzard default UI how close Pulse Bomb was being up. But in a straight 1v1, every time we saw a straight 1v1, Malthael did in fact win that lane.